Prime Minister Narendra Modi's virtual meeting with US President Joe Biden. What's on the agenda of the first of its kind interaction between the two leaders that would coincide with the Made in India-US 2+2 dialogue? Also in Pakistan, opposition leader Shahbaz Sharif gets elected as the 23rd Prime Minister. But is the political turmoil in our neighbor over? Details on these big stories and much more on the news tonight. Hello and welcome. I'm Teena Jha. Let's begin with the top headlines of the day. At virtual meeting with US President Joe Biden, Prime Minister Modi underscores India's efforts to promote peace in Ukraine. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla urges bigger role for the youth in India's democracy, asserts that welfare of deprived sections will come only through democratic institutions. Gujarat tops Niti Aayog's State Energy and Climate Index among larger states, followed by Kerala and Punjab. Goa, Tripura and Manipur ahead among smaller states. PMLN's Shahbaz Sharif elected 23rd Prime Minister of Pakistan. PTI lawmakers boycott the vote. And registration of Amarnath Yatra starts. Pilgrimage to begin from 30th of June. Online registration through board's website and also through the mobile application. A quick look at what else made news through the day today. In an unfortunate incident, at least 3 killed, several injured after cable cars collide on ropeway at Trikut Hills in Jharkhand. Development of villages necessary to ensure sustainable development at the national level, says Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. On Mahatma Jyotiba Phule Jayanti, Vice President and the Prime Minister pay tributes to the champion of social justice and reformer. Chennai court dismisses Shashikala's petition to be the AIADMK General Secretary. First flight of HAL Dahiya Do-228 to take off from Dibrugarh to Pasighat in Arunachal Pradesh on Tuesday. Met Department issues rain alert for 6 districts down south in Kerala. Benchmark BSE Sensex tumbled by nearly 483 points on Monday due to selling in IT and banking stocks. Encounter underway between security forces and militants in Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir. Twitter handles of UP government and also the Punjab Congress hacked for a brief while. And China's port city of Guangzhou closed to visitors after increase in cases of coronavirus infection. Beginning with developments in our neighbor Pakistan. So after days of political turmoil, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz PMLN President Shahbaz Sharif was elected as the country's 23rd Prime Minister on Monday. The vote comes a day after Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf's Imran Khan was ousted from the top post. Shahbaz Sharif is the younger brother of the former Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. In the National Assembly session for electing the new Prime Minister, Sharif got a total of 174 votes. 2 more than 172 needed to be elected. Before Shahbaz was elected as the Prime Minister, PTI lawmakers resigned in a move to pressure the new ruling party and its allies to call for fresh elections. And for more details on that story, I'm joined by my colleague Vishal Dahiya. Good evening, Vishal. Take us through what's the latest happening in Pakistan. Seems the country has gotten its 23rd Prime Minister after days of political turmoil. But what's your reading? Do you think the turmoil, the crisis that our neighboring country has been for a couple of weeks now, does it look to be over for now?
Well, good evening, Teena. It looks far from over if you look at what the experts have been pointing out and the analysts have been looking at it that way. Interestingly, if you look at the entire, political turmoil which has been unfolding in Pakistan for quite a few weeks now, Imran Khan was ousted through a no confidence vote, and that is one interesting aspect, because this is the first time in the history of Pakistan since independence that a prime minister has been removed after losing a no confidence vote. Although also interesting aspect here is that no prime minister after independence in Pakistan's history has completed his or her full term, and Imran Khan is another addition to that list. As far as the new prime minister is concerned, Shehbaz Sharif, well, his hands are going to be full. It's going to be a very uphill task from here, because in all aspects, be it economic, diplomatic, and security as well, and internal political turmoil, the situation doesn't seem to be very good in Pakistan. Economically speaking, there is double-digit inflation. Forex reserves are getting depleted at a very fast race. In terms of diplomatic issues, well, Pakistan seems to be hemmed now between its Western allies and European countries on one side, and on the other side, Russia and China. Of course, that statement which came in from Imran Khan while he was addressing the nation, wherein he mentioned United States of America, that seemingly has precipitated another diplomatic crisis for the new prime minister. And Russia seemingly is not at all, happy with that statement which came in from Pakistan Army Chief on the Ukraine issue. So clearly, it's going to be a tough task on Shehbaz Sharif's end. But let's not forget, the establishment there, so-called deep state, that is the Pakistani army, which has a stake in all decisions which are taken, or in all events which take place inside Pakistan. And therein it becomes really important as to what would be Pakistan Army's next move. Also, Imran Khan has gone on an offensive after being removed from office. He and most of his party MPs from the National Assembly have resigned their seats. So politically also, it will be really interesting to see whether, there will be bipolls for all these seats, because there is almost 1.5 years left before the general elections take place in Pakistan. So it's a very developing situation. Right. The political situation can still be considered in a flux there. And we'll have to keep a close watch and wait and watch as to what exactly
what happens in Pakistan, because as Vishal rightly said, politically, economically, and of course on diplomatic fronts as well, the country's, in fact, the newly elected prime minister will have a tough task at hand. So it remains to be seen how he handles all of these crises which he's facing. Moving on, in fact, back home to the big story of the day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held talks with US President Joe Biden today. In fact, at the virtual meeting, the two leaders reviewed the bilateral cooperation between both countries. The Prime Minister also underscored India's efforts in promoting peace in Ukraine. Also discussed were the developments in South Asia, the Indo-Pacific region, and also the global issues of mutual interest. The meeting is a precursor to more regular and high-level meetings to further strengthen the bilateral comprehensive strategic partnership. The virtual meeting will be followed by the fourth 2+2 talks between the foreign and defense ministers of India and the United States.
मैंने यूक्रेन और रूस दोनों के राष्ट्रपतियों से कई बार फोन पर बातचीत की। मैंने न सिर्फ शांति की अपील की, बल्कि मैंने राष्ट्रपति पुतिन को यूक्रेन के राष्ट्रपति के साथ सीधी बातचीत का सुझाव भी रखा। हमारी संसद में भी यूक्रेन के विषय पर बहुत विस्तार से चर्चा हुई।
Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar are taking part in the India-US 2+2 ministerial talks in Washington. This is the first 2+2 ministerial dialogue under the Joe Biden administration. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is also holding a separate meeting with US Secretary of State Blinken. Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin are hosting S. Jaishankar and Rajnath Singh at the 2+2 ministerial meeting. According to the Ministry of External Affairs, the talks will help India-US to comprehensively review mutual issues on the bilateral agenda related to foreign policy, defense, and also security. It will further strengthen the relationship between the two countries. Earlier, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh met senior executives of American aviation and defense giants Boeing and Raytheon. He enumerated the policy initiatives of India in moving from Make in India to Make for the World. There is a need to focus on education, employment and entertainment in rural areas so that migration of people from villages can be stopped. In fact, Vice President of India M. Venkaiah Naidu made these remarks on Monday while emphasizing the need to empower Panchayati Raj institutions for the development of the country. He was addressing the National Stakeholder Conference on Sustainable Development Goals in New Delhi. The Vice President said the development of villages is essential to ensure sustainable development at the national level. He also said connectivity, infrastructure and irrigation are important for rural development. Besides, the Vice President also underscored the need to bring all Gram Panchayats on a common platform to fulfill the digital mission. He said Gram Sabhas must be held once a year and people's participation is important to strengthen the Gram Sabhas. Listening.
आज भी लगभग 70% भारत गांवों में बसता है। महात्मा गांधी जी ने का शब्दों में समझे तो भारत का दिल गांव में ही बसता है। राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर सतत विकास के इन लक्ष्यों को प्राप्त करने के लिए जरूरी है कि गांव और उनकी पंचायतों के स्तर पर बदलाव लाया जाए।
Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said on Monday that the world sees Indian democracy as an ideal. He described Indian democracy as the world's oldest functioning, powerful and vibrant democracy. Inaugurating the 8th Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Conference of India Zone in the Assam Assembly, the Lok Sabha Speaker advocated maximum participation of the youth in democracy. He asserted that the youth bring socio-economic change through innovation. He said greater their contribution in a democracy, the more transparent the governance. The theme of the conference is to strengthen legislative oversight to optimize development outcomes for aspiring sections of the society.
लोकतंत्र के अंदर सक्रिय भागीदारी निकालने के लिए प्रेरित करें और इसके लिए अब समय आ गया है। हमारे नौजवानों की एक अद्भुत कार्यक्षमता है, आत्मविश्वास है, काम करने का विजन है, इनोवेशन है। सूचना प्रौद्योगिकी के अंदर हमारा नौजवान बहुत तेजी से देश और दुनिया के अंदर काम कर रहा है।
Gujarat has topped among large states in the Niti Aayog's State Energy and Climate Index. The Niti Aayog ranking puts Gujarat, followed by Kerala and Punjab, among top positions. States like Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand are ranked last on the list. Among the smaller states, Goa tops the index, followed by Tripura and Manipur. The SECI Round 1 aims to rank states and union territories on 6 parameters, including performance of power distribution companies, energy access, affordability and reliability, clean energy initiatives, energy efficiency, sustainable environment, and also new initiatives. In some tragic news, 3 people were killed and several injured in a cable car collision at Trikut Hills in Jharkhand's Devghar district. 2 Air Force helicopters still trying to extract people stranded on the ropeway. About 27 people were rescued and at least 20 more were still waiting to be rescued after the accident that took place on Sunday. Rescue operations have been halted because of night and will be resumed on Tuesday morning. National Disaster Response Force, the NDRF, in fact, its Assistant Commandant, Vinay Kumar Singh, who is at the spot, said water and food are being provided to the trapped people with the help of drones. The incident appears to have been caused by a technical snag. The ropeway manager and other employees, staffed by a private company, fled the spot after the incident. 2 people who had jumped were seriously injured, according to reports. In more news from across different states, the Enforcement Directorate questioned senior Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge in connection with the probe in the National Herald case. The leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha was asked to appear before the agency in connection with the investigation. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy reconstituted the state cabinet on Monday, inducting 13 new faces. The governor administered the oath of office in secrecy to all the 25 cabinet members at a public function held in state capital Amravati. In Bihar, 24 newly elected MLCs took oath in Patna in the presence of Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. In Gujarat, a chemical factory in Bharuch district caught fire after an explosion, killing 6 workers. The bodies have been sent for post-mortem. Condoling the deaths, the Prime Minister announced an ex gratia assistance of 2 lakh rupees each to the next of kin of the deceased and 50,000 rupees each to those injured. India successfully test-fired the Helena anti-tank guided missile. The high-altitude missile was fired from an indigenously built helicopter. It is one of the most advanced anti-tank missiles in the world. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh congratulated DRDO and the Army for this achievement. Well, France gears up for the campaign for the presidential elections with Emmanuel Macron facing off far-right leader Marine Le Pen. Details on that story on the other side of this quick break. Do stay with us.
Those in favor, please say aye.
जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए,
I think the ayes have it.
हवालों के पक्ष में हुआ।
Ayes have it. The bill is passed.
Thanks for staying with us on the news in all the latest updates from the war front in Ukraine. Russia has claimed that it destroyed the S-300 anti-aircraft missile system supplied to Ukraine by a European country. The ministry said Russian sea-launched Caliber missiles on Sunday destroyed 4 S-300 launchers on the outskirts of the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. Russia also claimed that 25 Ukrainian troops were hit in the attack. Meanwhile, Ukraine said on Monday that 9 humanitarian corridors have been agreed to evacuate people from the besieged eastern regions between Kiev and Moscow, including 5 in the Luhansk region. The planned corridors include one for people evacuating by private transport from the city of Mariupol. Austria's Chancellor Karl Nehammer is visiting Moscow, the first such visit since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin and is expected to raise alleged war crimes in devastated areas around Kiev that were under Russian occupation, including the town of Bucha. Ukrainian President Zelensky warned his nation on Sunday night that the coming week would be as crucial as any in the war. He said that Russian troops are moving to even larger operations in the east of the state. He accused Russia of trying to evade responsibility for war crimes. News now from other parts of the world. Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa addressed his nation on Monday. He said his government is working round the clock to overcome the economic crisis in the country. Rajapaksa said the nation is facing this crisis right after being faced with the pandemic. He asserted that despite knowing the country's economy was going down, they had to impose a lockdown, which is why foreign reserves got depleted. 3 members of the ruling alliance had proposed forming an interim government a week after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa called for a unity administration amid unrest and a severe economic crisis. But efforts to establish an all-party interim government in Sri Lanka remained inconclusive as talks between President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the group of independents from his own ruling SLPP coalition failed to make progress on this issue. Meanwhile, France faces a grueling 2-week campaign for the presidential elections. Centrist incumbent Emmanuel Macron will face far-right leader Marine Le Pen for the presidency after the first round runoff on Sunday declared them the top 2 leaders in this race. Here's a report.
French President Emmanuel Macron topped Sunday's first round of the presidential election with 27.6% of the vote. His closest rival, Marine Le Pen, was projected to get 23.4%. Macron scored higher than his result in the first round 5 years ago. Pollsters say that he clearly gained support in the final hours of the campaign. Macron has increasingly warned voters to keep at bay the far right and defend France's position on the war in Ukraine. But Le Pen's score was also higher than 5 years ago. She has campaigned hard on the cost of living crisis and inflation. Macron conceded that he had not managed to calm voters' concerns about immigration or hold back the fears that led people to vote for extremes. Many Parisians were disappointed with another Macron-Le Pen second-round duel and anticipate tough times ahead. Some said that they were disappointed to have same choice of candidates in the second round as well. Meanwhile, Le Pen's National Rally officials will meet Monday to plan strategy for the second round, scheduled for April 24th. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And some other global updates in this quick world wrap. Iran on Monday said the 2015 nuclear deal was a lie, but in an emergency room as talks over reviving the accord remain stalled. A foreign ministry spokesman said the tattered atomic deal was being resuscitated, but parties do not know what its destiny will be. According to Saeed Khatibzadeh, a spokesman for the country's foreign ministry, talks between Iran and world powers in Vienna to revive the nuclear agreement have been put on hold since February. Thousands of students marched in cities around Indonesia on Monday to protest against rumors that the government is considering postponing the 2024 presidential election to allow President Joko Widodo to remain in office beyond the two-term legal limit, calling it a threat to the country's democracy. Widodo denied on Sunday that his administration is attempting to delay the vote after senior politicians, including a close ally, supported the idea and ordered the cabinet to explain that the election has been set for February 14, 2024. Russia's central bank has managed to stabilize key aspects of the economy with severe controls, artificially propping up the ruble to allow it to rebound to levels seen before the start of the military operation in Ukraine. The Central Bank of Russia on Friday said that it was lowering its benchmark interest rate and also said more rate cuts could be on the way. China, meanwhile, confirmed that it delivered a batch of regular military supplies to Serbia, but it insisted that it has nothing to do with the current situation. Russian ally Serbia took the delivery of a sophisticated Chinese anti-aircraft system in a veiled operation this weekend amid Western concerns that an arms build-up in the Balkans at the time of the war in Ukraine could threaten the fragile peace in the region. Media and military experts said 6 Chinese Air Force Y-20 transport planes landed at Belgrade civilian airport early on Saturday. Former tennis champion Boris Becker could face a jail sentence after being found guilty of illicitly moving thousands of dollars from a bank account after he was declared bankrupt. A jury at London's Southwark Crown Court convicted Becker on 4 charges under the Insolvency Act, including removal of property, concealing debt, and 2 counts of failing to disclose estate. The 6-time Grand Slam champion denied all the charges and was acquitted on 20 other accounts, including charges that he had failed to hand over his many awards. And time now for all the sporting action. Indian junior women's team could not make it to the finals of the Hockey World Cup being played in South Africa. India lost to the Netherlands 0-3 in the semi-finals. Though India started well but could not convert the chances they had in the early part of the match, goals from Tessa Biedsma, Luna Falk and Jip Dish ensured the Dutch earned a win to qualify for the final in an attempt to win their 4th world title. In golf, world number 1 Scotty Scheffler has won the first major tournament of the year at the Augusta Masters. This is also Scheffler's first career major, displaying dominating play throughout the 4 rounds and holding firm down the stretch on the back 9 to seize the green jacket. Former world number 1 Tiger Woods, who made a comeback in the tournament after a long break, finished at the 47th place. Woods has returned after overcoming severe leg injuries. Moving to the racing track, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc led from the start to finish to steer his team to an action-packed win at the Australian Grand Prix on Sunday, with world champion Max Verstappen failing to finish. The World Championship leader scored round the 58th lap Albert Park circuit to take the checkered flag by a massive 20.5 seconds. Red Bull's Sergio Perez was second, with George Russell third for the struggling Mercedes. Seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton ended fourth. On to cricket now. In IPL matches played on Sunday, Delhi Capitals and Rajasthan Royals scored contrasting wins against Kolkata Knight Riders and Lucknow Super Giants respectively. In the 19th match of the season, played at Brabourne Stadium, Mumbai, Delhi Capitals scored 215 for 5 and restricted KKR to 171, winning by 44 runs. In the next match played across the road at Mumbai's Wankhede Stadium, Rajasthan Royals scored 165 for 6 and were able to defend against Lucknow Super Giants, restricting them to 162 for 8, thus winning by 3 runs. Meanwhile, South Africa have defeated Bangladesh in the second test by a massive 332 runs to win the series 2-0. South Africa scored 453 in the first innings and declared their second at 176 for 6, giving an improbable target of 413 to the tourists. Bangladesh, who scored 217 in their first innings, could not display much fight in the second, folding for just 80. South African left-arm spinner Keshav Maharaj took 7 wickets for 40 in Bangladesh's second innings. And before we wind up the bulletin, a quick relook at the top stories of the day. At virtual meeting with US President Joe Biden, Prime Minister Modi underscores India's efforts to promote peace in Ukraine. Lok Sabha Speaker urges bigger role for youth in India's democracy, asserts that welfare of deprived sections will come only through democratic institutions. Gujarat tops Niti Aayog's State Energy and Climate Index among larger states, followed by Kerala and Punjab. Goa, Tripura and Manipur ahead among smaller states. PMLN's Shehbaz Sharif elected 23rd Prime Minister of Pakistan. PTI lawmakers boycott vote. And registration of Amarnath Yatra begins. Pilgrimage to start from 30th June. Online registration through the board's website and also through the mobile app. So that's it from us in this bulletin. Thank you for your time. Good night.